Вітаю і рада вітати вас всіх на нашому вебінарі, який присвячений підготовці до здачі іспиту НМТ. І, зокрема, буде фокусуватися на word formation. Перед тим, як розпочати наш вебінар, хочу нагадати, що протягом сесії я буду читати наш чат і буду рада вашим запитанням у чаті, тому якщо у вас з'являються якісь запитання або щось незрозуміло, щось не так, пишіть, будь ласка, у чат. І також дуже прошу вашої активності у чаті протягом сесії, оскільки це допоможе опанувати вам матеріал краще. Що ж, пропоную швиденько познайомитися, і мене звати Олеся Войк, я є старшою викладачкою та тренеркою навчально-методичного центру Грін Кантрі, тобто викладаю англійську для учнів школи Грін Кантрі, викладаю як загальну англійську, так і маю досвід підготовки студентів до НМТ. Більше того, ділюсь своїм досвідом не лише з учнями, студентами, але й з викладачами, в чому допомагає мені мій міжнародний сертифікат СЕЛЬТА. І також він допомагає мені створювати різні матеріали для навчання, для вивчення англійської, для навчання учнів у Грін Кантрі. Наш вебінар буде проводитися англійською мовою, so let me switch into English and let's get started and let's dive in. So, I suggest to start with a short quiz to warm up our brains. I will show you some words and your task is to guess the part of speech. And please drop your answers in the chat. So let's start with the first one, that's develop, and write to the chat whether it's a noun, a verb, an adjective, or adverb. Good. Easy peasy. Verb. Good. And let's move on to the next one, happiness. Good job, Ryan. That's a noun. Careful. Right, that's correct. That's adjective. It describes a person or thing, right? Quickly. Right, that's adverb. Good. So it tells us how something happens, right? Good. Let's try to do the same, but in another way. You will be given not a word, but a word in a sentence, which will be highlighted. And your task will be, again, to identify whether it's a noun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. Let's take a look at the first one. So information in this very sentence, is it noun, verb, adjective, or adverb? Yes, good. That's a noun, right? The next one. He explained the rules very clearly, so nobody was confused. Clearly, in this very sentence. That's adverb, right? Good. This one. We must decide whether to continue the project before Friday. Decide in this very sentence. Good, exactly, that's a verb. And the last one, he remained late at the office to finish the report. Be attentive, that's a tricky one. Adverb, okay, any other ideas? Take a look at the sentence once again. He remained late at the office to finish the report. Okay. Adjective. Not a noun exactly. So that's a tricky one. Sometimes state verbs like feel, seem, look, or remain are followed by adjectives. But some adjectives look exactly like adverbs, right? As we've got here, late. Late can be as an adverb and can be as an adjective. So, this one is not an adverb. Yeah. Okay. So why is important in this word formation in NMT session, right? Why it's important to know this word formation? Because you need to know what part of speech fits the sentence, yeah? And this quiz, it helped us practice this skill a little bit. So let's take a look at our agenda, right, at our plan for the session. And by the end of this webinar, you will be able to identify parts of speech in sentences and understand their role in word formation tasks. You will be able to recognize and use some common prefixes and suffixes to form words correctly. You will be able to understand the concept of word families and apply it to guess correct word forms. Differentiate between same form words and compound words and use them accurately. You also will be able to analyze sentences, sentence context to choose the correct word form in kind of NMT style tasks. And of course, we'll practice with real test examples to build confidence and improve accuracy in the use of English section. So essentially, by the end of this session, you will know how words are built, how to spot the correct form, and how to use context to solve word formation questions on the NMT exam. So let's start with what is word formation. So what exactly is word formation? In simple words, word formation is the process of creating different forms of a word, a noun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb, from one basic root. For example, we can take the base word happy, and from the word happy, we can get happiness, a noun, then unhappy, an adjective with an opposite meaning, or happily, an adverb. So, where can you find these in NMT exam? Usually it appears in the use of English section, and it tests your ability to create the correct form of a word so that it fits grammatically and makes sense in a sentence. Let me show you an example from the test. You will be given a text, as you can see here, with some gaps. And one of these gaps will be devoted to word formation. So here you need to choose the form of the word that fits the sentence both in meaning and grammar. So in the exam, it's not just about knowing the meaning of the word. It's about understanding the grammar, the structure of the sentence, and how words change their form depending on their role. Let's do a quick challenge together. I will show you 3 sentences. One of them has a wrong word formation, and you need to spot the mistake. So choose A, B, or C. Which one is incorrect? See your answers. Right. The first variant, letter A, is not correct because we've got here successfully. What part of speech is it successfully? That's an adverb ending in ly. They are adverbs. Good. So this one is an adverb. And what do we need? She's a very student. So we don't need an adverb, but we need an yes, we need successful, an adjective to describe student, right? To describe a noun. So it should be successful, not successfully. If we take a look at B, it's correct. Range of services. It's noun in plural, so it's correct. And he acted professionally, an adverb, right? He acted how? Professionally. So B and C, they are correct. And the mistake is in the first one, not successfully, but successful, an adjective. So excellent. This is exactly the type of thinking you will need in the exam. Yeah, analyze, identify the parts of speech, and choose the correct variant. Or also a good strategy is to exclude, yeah, to eliminate the answers which are definitely not correct, not suit this, doesn't suit the sentence. So now let's look at how words are usually formed in English. There are several main ways, and once you know all of them, you will start noticing the same pattern again and again. So let's start with the first one. They are prefixes. These are parts added to the beginning of a word. For example, happy can become unhappy. Yes, a negative one, happy, unhappy. So the prefix on means not, right? And there are some other common prefixes like re, that means again, yeah, rewrite, redo something, yeah, or this, which can mean as opposite, like disagree, disadvantage, right? Or pre, which can mean before, right? Preview, for example, right? Let's make it a little bit interactive and try to remember or practice those prefixes a little bit. I will give you a base word, and your task is to add as many prefixes as possible. Usually at least one, okay? Because some words can match several prefixes, but your task will be to find one, the best prefix. And of course, write your versions in the chat, and we'll see who finds the most. Let's start with possible. So what prefix can we add to possible, and what word can we get? So that's possible. Possible? Good. Impossible. Perfect. Appear. Good. Disappear. Perfect. Um, legal. The word is legal. Illegal. Wonderful. Okay. And the last one, or maybe two more. Regular. Regular, regular. The verbs are regular and irregular. Good. And the last one, um, behave. To behave. So the verb is behave. This one is interesting. It's better to say misbehave. Yes, to misbehave. Good. Well done. And if we've got here on the list prefixes, it's obvious that we will get suffixes, right? So these go at the end of the word. Yes, we put prefixes in the beginning of the word, and suffixes we put at the end of the word. For example, beauty will become beautiful, right? So you can see here on the screen some common suffixes. That's a good cheat sheet for you with all of the suffixes that you can use to make nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. Let's practice a little bit. You can see the suffix in the first column and an example in the second column, but we will make this example on our own. So, for example, we've got here develop, and we need to make a noun by adding suffix ment. So, what the word do we get? Good, development, right. Let's do the same with active. We need to make a noun by adding suffix ity. What the word do we get? Activity, good job. Social, let's make a noun by adding suffix ism. Good. Socialism, good. Let's do the same with free. We need to add dom to get a noun. Exactly, freedom. Good. Let's move on to verbs. Let's take the verb beauty. And to make the verb, we need to add ify to the word beauty. So what the verb will be? To beautify something good. Okay. Let's move on to adverbs. And we've got a word down. And we need to make an adverb, but add in word or words. W-A-R-D. So the adverb that we got is downwards. Perfect. Let's move on to adjectives and practice them a little bit. Let's start with use. We can add suffix ful to get an adjective. The adjective will be good, useful. Let's do the same with nation by adding suffix al. National, correct. Then we've got a hero. We need to make an adjective by adding suffix ic. Good, heroic, and the last one that's child. How to make an adjective? Exactly, that's childish. So that's a good cheat sheet, as I already said. So you can take a screenshot or just rewatch the recording later and use this cheat sheet for your NMT preparation. Good, we're done with suffixes, and let's move on to one more way of word formation that's same form word. That's also very important part that we need to focus on, and we have never forgot about it. You can see on the screen some words which are the same as a noun and a verb, for example. These are words that look exactly the same but can be used as different parts of speech, depending on the context. Yeah, as you can see here on the screen, a music record and to record a video, or um, interest in a topic and to interest someone. Yeah, or a theater play, or to play football. They all play different roles in the sentence. Some of them are nouns, some of them are verbs. Or also we can't but mention fast, yeah, which can be both as an adjective and an adverb. Yeah, a fast car, but he runs fast. Um, that's the examples of the same form words. Do you know any other examples of same form words except those that you can see on the screen? Yes, book can be as a noun, it can be as a verb, okay. But it will also have different meanings, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Let's move on to compound words. These are words formed by joining two words together. For example, note, book, tooth, brush, sunflower, right? You already know each part, but when combined, they create a new word. Let's practice compound words a little bit. You can see the images, the mini word. Let's try to combine them and make a new one. Some ribuses, right? Right, a cupcake. Good job. One more. Exactly. Good job. Snowman. Perfect. And the last one. Exactly. That's a rainbow. Wonderful. So that's an easy thing, but also very important to know and not to forget about it. And another important idea in word formation is the concept of word families. A word family is simply a group of words that all come from the same root. As you can see here, yeah, we've got the root create. We can make a noun, creation, then verb, create, adjective, creative, and adverb, creatively. Or also one more noun can be creativity, right? The same root in all of the words, create. The same with help, helper, helpful, helpfully, right? Or act, action, active, activity, actor, actress, actual. You see, we can make with one root a lot of different words, nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. Or we can also take another one, for example, decide, yeah? Decide, decision, decisively, and so on. So, and even if you've never used the word decisively, for example, before, you can recognize that it belongs to the same family as decide, and you can figure out that it's an adverb form. So that's why it's useful, because if you know one member of the family, you can often guess the others. Yeah. So when you are preparing for the NMT, don't just learn words one by one. Learn them in families. That way, one word can give you 4 or even 5 useful forms. And in the test, this strategy can save you a lot of time, believe me. So to sum up this very part, we can say that word formation is about knowing how words are built, right? With those prefixes, suffixes, compounds, or simply changing their role in a sentence, and about using word families as your kind of secret weapon, right? If you study this smartly, you will be ready for any word formation task that shows up on your exam. Let's practice these word families a little bit before we move on to the real NMT task practice. Let's take a look at the word cam. That's a base word, or we can say root. Let's think, what other words can we make with cam? You can add some prefixes, suffixes, or make noun, verb, adverb. Let's try. Drop the answers to the chat. Good. Thank you. Like your answers. Yeah, so out of care, we can make a verb, yeah, or noun, kind of care, then adjective, careful, careless, a negative adjective, right? Then carefully as an adverb, right? Then carelessness as a noun by adding these ness, and that's it. Good. So as I said that we're going to practice with some real test examples, and let's take a look at the first one. Before we do the task, before we fill in the gap with the missing word, let's discuss the strategy, how to work with those tasks. First, you have to read the whole sentence. Yeah, you don't have to read the whole text, but you need to read the exact sentence where you've got the gap. So take a few seconds to read it. Then, without looking at the answers, at the possible or the suggested answers, you have to identify what part of speech is missing. Yeah, what can we put here? So take a look at the sentence once again. Take a look at the gap and try to think what part of speech suits this gap, this sentence the best. Is it noun, adjective, adverb, or verb? Let's think all together and write it to the chat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Skill set that makes them uniquely, yeah, we need an adjective, good, to describe those kids. Good. Now, when we know that we need an adjective, we need to take a look at the suggested answers and identify the parts of speech of each of the words to choose which one suits the sentence the best. So, qualifying, what part of speech is it? Yeah, it can be an adjective, but mostly that's about present participle. Good. The next one that we got here, that's qualified. What part of speech is it? Okay, you're giving the correct answer B. Yes, you're right. The correct answer is B. So that's an adjective, or we can say that qualified is participle, also possible. Then we've got qualifier, which is a noun. That qualification is also a noun. We know that we need an adjective. Let's take a look at the sentence with the gap once again and choose whether qualifying or qualified. Yeah. If we know that we are describing kids, so of course that will be qualified, make them uniquely qualified. Good. The correct answer is B. Let's practice with one more thing. Take a look at the example, take a look at the sentence with the gap. Let's try to predict, yeah, to think which part of speech suits this sentence the best. What do we need to look for? So take a look at the gap and try to predict what part of speech is the best for this little gap. Noun, adjective, adverb, or verb. Mhm. Yes, adjective. Take a look that we've got noun, and before nouns we usually put adjectives, right? So now take a look at the possible answers and choose the best variant. A, B, C, or D. Mhm. Colored glasses. Okay, let's take a look. Variant A, coloring, that's a noun, right? Then B, colors, that's a noun in plural form. Then C, coloring, can be as a noun and also verb. Um, Adjective. Adjective. Sorry, the mistake. Coloring can be as a adjective or, yeah, of course, as a verb, okay? And colored as an adjective, right? So the correct answer is D, an adjective, right? Okay, good. Let's take a look at the next one. One more sentence. Again, take a look at the gap and try to predict what part of speech suits this gap the best. Mhm. Looks like adjective, right? Okay. So let's take a look at the variants of answers and choose the best one. Again, right? Different. We've got different as the adjective, right? Because difference is noun, differently adverb, differ verb, and different, that's the only adjective on the list. Good. Let's take one more. I'm not helping you with the strategy, yeah, with the algorithm, with the stages. You already know how to work. So look at the sentence and choose the correct option. That's 57. Mm-hmm. See your answers and let's check. So when we take a look at the sentence, we can say that we need what part of speech? Adverb, right? Okay. So let's take a look. Activation is a noun, doesn't match, doesn't fit. Activate is a verb, we don't need it. Then actively is an adverb. And activate, adjective, right? So that's why the correct option is C, right? Driving a car actively demonstrates to potential dog adopters that you and so on. So that's why it's very important to take a look at the sentence first, to take a look at the gap first, before choosing the correct variant. Yeah, and try to predict what to choose. What part of speech suits the sentence the best? Noun, verb, adverb, adjective, and so on. Let's take one more to practice even more and even better. So just drop the correct answer to the chat. A, B, C, or D. Good. I'm waiting for some more answers. Okay, yes. When we take a look at the gap, so let's try to think, what part of speech do we need here? So frequency is a noun, and before nouns, we usually put adjectives, right? So let's look for an adjective. High is an adjective. Heighten, um, to highen, yeah, to highen, that's a verb. That's highly, that's adverb. And height, that's a noun, of course, right? So we need an adjective, and the only adjective on the list is a, high, right? To also produce high frequency clicks. Good. Um, okay, let's take one more. We still have a few minutes, so we can practice even more. Again, A. Yeah, that's correct. The correct answer is A. To fall in asleep, right? Not to fall in sleepy, but to fall in asleep. Yeah, that's the correct variant. Um, Good. And let's take the last one. Mhm. Okay. See your answers. Let's check. So safely is adverb, safe adjective, safety noun, and saving adjective or present participle, right? So let's take a look at the gap, and we've got here they found what? Yeah, we need a noun, and the only noun on the list is safety. Good. So let's sum up with the strategy. What strategy did we follow to remember it better? So first of all, you don't have to read the whole text. You only need to focus on the very sentence with the gap. You take a look at the gap and you predict what part of speech do we need in this very gap, in this very text. So so it suits grammatically, yeah, and it makes sense. And only then you take a look at the suggested answers, you try to identify part of speech of each of them, and only then choose the best option. So I would like also to share with you and some tips for learning and preparation. When you study for word formation tasks, keep these in mind. First of all, learn words and families, as I already mentioned. Always study noun, verb, adjective, and adverb together, not only a noun or only a verb. These will help you a lot. Build your own word bank with some common prefixes and suffixes. This will also help you. Notice same form and compound words when you meet them in text. Try to notice them, and when it's your book, you can highlight or underline them even. And don't just memorize, but practice using the new forms in your own sentences. And practice with some real examples, of course. Um, Also, some strategies for the test. When you are actually solving NMT word formation tasks, always check which part of speech is missing, right? Then look for clues in the sentence, as we already mentioned. Grammar and context will definitely guide you and help you to choose the best option. Then prefixes and suffixes, they are strong hints, use them. Um, Double check, that is the most important. Does your word fit grammatically and logically? Yeah, read the sentence with filled in yeah, filled in the word that you've chosen. So double check, always double check. And practice, practice, and again practice. The more tasks you solve, the faster you will recognize patterns. And you can practice even better and get better, do NMT test with us, with Green Country. Можна приєднатися ще до курсу, оскільки до старту залишилося зовсім мало, 2 дні, проте все ще є шанс приєднатися до наших курсів. Курс проходитиме у 2 форматах, тобто можна обрати як груповий, так і індивідуальний формат навчання. Усе навчання проходить на інтерактивній платформі, а також за підручником Get 200, який був розроблений спеціально Macmillan Education для українців, для підготовки до ЗНО або тепер уже НМТ. Тому ось так. Більше деталей або більше інформації про курс можна почитати, перейшовши за посиланням greencountry.com.ua або просканувавши QR-код. Якщо залишились якісь запитання, you're welcome, drop them to the chat. Okay, don't see your questions, only thanks. And I also want to thank you for joining, for taking active participation in this very webinar. See you in the next sessions. Hope to see you in our lessons. All the best, and hope that you will pass NMT next year with flying colors. Thank you very much and see you. Bye bye.